what we'll look at today is kind of the basic processes, what Plant 3D can do, how it's going to save you time when compared to designing piping systems inside of AutoCAD or another third-party software. So if we look at the model here, we can see that in Plant 3D we have the capabilities of doing both structural equipment and piping, but our main niche here is going to be the piping part of things. So even though we have some tanks and some members in there, they may not be as detailed as we want them to be. Let's look first at just our equipment modeling. So Plant 3D has an equipment modeler. It kind of works like the old solid modeling AutoCAD software, but it's smart enough inside of here to have some templates here, and also gives you the option to kind of just mess around with the dimensions of things. So I can change the size of my tank, just right-sided here. We can see that I can tag it, different tags in there, and have different properties. So a lot of stuff, we're going to see a lot of different properties inside of here. And this is where the meat and potatoes is really one in Plant 3D, because we need that information somewhere down the line, whether it be in a report or in an output drawing, but all that stuff is there. So you can see, throw that guy right in there. Pretty long little tube there. Also, inside of these, we have control over our nozzles. You can see we can move the nozzles around, place those where we need them, because that's what we're really worried about in piping, is where that nozzle is, and also what type of nozzle it is. Okay. Also, inside of here, we have the ability to do some structural stuff. So we can see here that, for instance, I'm going to make a little over route of my piping here with the structural tool. There's a structural tab here. If I were to make like some stairs over here, you can see just 4 quick clicks. And I got some stairs on there going over. One cool thing, or many cool things about Plant 3D, is that we can use a lot of our old AutoCAD tools inside of here. So even though we are in a higher product and we're doing bigger things than just dummy salads, we're still able to use all those commands that we used to know. So, if I want to say copy, I can copy this stuff just like we would in AutoCAD. But I'm also able to draw in the third dimension without having to mess with my UCS. So we all know how big of a pain it is to move the UCS around. Kind of keep an eye on that as we work. You're going to notice that that thing is rotating and moving and such as I need it, depending on the process I'm doing. So I'll have to move it to extrude something along or sweep something along a path. Okay. Also want to point out with structures, you'll see here that at the end components, we don't have any of the connections that that may be needed for structural detailing. But we have a great program called AutoCAD Advanced Steel that we bring this into next. Really good program that works on top of AutoCAD too. That'll help you detail all that, get you real quick engineering documents and CNC data so that you can create all your structural stuff. All right, so enough of that. On to the actual pipe routing of things. We can see here I have a route made to start with. And as I said, we're going to kind of concentrate on the sanitary department here. And so one of the main circumstances of sanitary is the tri-clamp. Main components, I should say, is the tri-clamp. So we can see here we have a tri-clamp right here at each connection. Spin her around a little bit. Each tri-clamp we'll see is going to automatically connect to the end of my piping and kind of go from there. So also wanted to point out that any Inventor users or AutoCAD users, that tri-clamp, it's just a model. This is a model that I created in Inventor. You could also create it in AutoCAD 3D, or if you already have the geometry, possibly from the manufacturer or whatnot, that information is able to go right inside of Plant 3D, and we're able to utilize it in many different forms, whether it be equipment or a piping component. We can use that. So routing pipe here. We have two different ways of routing pipe. One way is going to be manual, and the other is an auto route. So first, the manual way of routing pipe we'll do first, and you'll see this is going to be a lot like just drawing a regular line in AutoCAD. So we can see we're utilizing our dynamic input here, so there's no need to know where you're at in the Cartesian coordinates here, and it just kind of finds its start point and kind of routes from there. So we can type in our distances here. Then at each corner here, we can see that, you know what? I need to switch my spec here real fast. Sorry, guys. You probably want to see the sanitary spec. So you can see right there how fast I can switch between a steel pipe and a sanitary pipe here, and watch the difference now. So you can see the big difference here is we have a flanged in on these pipes, and now I'm getting my tri-clamps to go in. So type in a distance here. We have preset 90-degree elbows. We also have a 45-degree elbow and a 22.5-degree elbow. So you can see when I do these elbows, that's the only thing that Plant's going to let me pop in there. And so it's actually looking at the spec live and seeing what kind of turns I can make here. Now, I do also have the option, if I want to turn on a cutback elbow. So if you ever use cutback elbows, we can also put those guys on there too, if need be. So manual routing, as I said, a lot like drawing a line. You can see to the right I have the angle that the line is going from the last one, and then I have the distance. Type in distance there, and we can kind of route pipe. So one thing notice too, see at the end of my pipe here I have a little drip, and so Plant 3D is actually at all times looking at the pipe route and making sure that it's closed, that nothing is disconnected. So each component that we put in here has certain encodes to it, and when we get when we put two of those encodes together, there's a certain rule that dictates what comes in the middle. In this case, it's a tri-clamp, and also there's a little gasket in there, so we can see the gasket there. This is nice. I mean, if you're using AutoCAD trying to build piping together, you don't know if something moved down the line or you accidentally deleted something. You got a hole in it somewhere until it might be too late. It might be released to the public, and you had no idea that your elbow wasn't connected. So not a good deal. Other programs too may have this, but not live. This is going all the time. It's always thinking if it got connected or not. So a little tool there. Other than the manual routing, we also have auto routing here. So I get rid of this guy. I can also, if I want to go between, let's say, these two nozzles right here, I can just quickly pick one nozzle, pick the other nozzle, and you can see that Plant 3D is going to go through and try to find the best path here. So you can see at first it tries to use all 90s, and it may only use all 90s here, but it knows what options it has, whether it be a 45, a 90. It knows can see here that there's a concentric reducer placed right there. It knows what reducers it can use and such. So whenever we decide that we like how the route looks, we hit accept, and the route's placed. Don't mind that. Also, we have some inline components. So we have a pallet over here that's going to show what's inside of my spec. You see the dynamic pipe spec, so it's always looking at the spec that you have open at that point. So you can see we have a valve in here. If I throw a valve, you can see automatically throw it online. I get measurements from each end. Also, I can change around where I'm measuring from. So we can see this is the front of the valve. Oops. That's the back of the valve, and that's the middle of the valve. So if I know I want this guy in the middle of the line, get the middle of the valve and put him in there. And you can see when I put that in line, cuts the line, puts 2 tri-clamps on each side. If I delete it, it automatically fixes that guy. All right. Also, if I need to change some routing around, I don't have to delete the whole line as long as I have some freedom to move to stretch or compress a pipe. Then I can do that. So if I know I want to kind of work a little bit closer here, I can move this pipeline around. And then even in the middle of the pipeline here, I can take it and I can try to get an auto route here. You can see that didn't quite work, but it just depends on your offset for your elbows there. So I put also inline on a vertical line here, throw a valve on top. We also, over in the tool pallets, we have pipe supports. So there's a vast library of pipe supports inside of here. You can see that we have both hangers like this guy. Also, we have some pipe supports that will jump underneath the pipe. One cool thing with this guy, these pipe supports are real cool. They're actually dynamic 3D blocks. So you can see I can hit that little grip there, and I can actually edit the elevation of this guy. I can either put in, what the displacement is, how far away this guy is from my pipe or my top of pipe, and also how far it is away from the floor here. So if I know I got a beam where the bottom of the beam is 30 feet off the floor, I can put that guy up like that. There was a question in the webinar. They said, we have a question. Do all of those specs come with the AutoCAD product? A lot of them do. This particular spec that we're working on is something that I made custom. But AutoCAD comes with something like, I think something around 60 specs. There are some stainless steel specs in there. There isn't one with the tri-clamps in there out of the box, but this is not too hard to create. And I used a lot of the other components are out of just the stainless steel libraries. They come with huge ASME, DIN libraries, so you can create all those components from there. All right. So also, one thing too, any inline components that are custom, we can add those to our spec. Also, I created one real quick here on the side that was block-based. So again, something I modeled inside of Inventor, and I want to use in my plant model. You can see I throw that guy in there. He's an actual four-way valve. So let me get rid of this support here. Throw him in line. You can see he pops in nice tri-clamps on each side too. So there's different ways of doing it. If you want components available for multiple specs, you can kind of make custom pallets here, or you can work off the dynamic pallet. Okay. Also, inside the spec, we have control over our branching options. So we can see when I branch out of here at the same size, we're going to get a regular old T that pops in there. Also, if we change sizes, I go from like a 6 to a 4-inch, then it's going to pop in a reducing T. And I have it set up. We actually have a branch table that we create with the spec. And so when we get to a certain size, then you can see instead of a reducing T, we get a T with a reducer. And an even smaller drop, I'm not sure, but I think at one point it may go to just a stubbin. Yeah. So you can see just a stubbin there. Hard to see here. Just a little stubbin right there. We have the option to add a little reinforcing pad to the stubbin, so some editing there we can do. So, all right. Now we also have some tools inside of Plant that are going to make it easier for us. What are you doing here? Sorry. Easier us to select our lines. So you can see, like, if I just select an elbow here, add to selection, connect the line number, it's going to grab this whole line number. So if I'm trying to edit a property that's just specific to this line, I'm not having to try to use my windows like I have to do in AutoCAD, and having the chance of either missing something or picking something that I didn't want to pick. That may seem a little easy at this point, but think about, like, you know, even the little gaskets that are inside these tri-clamps and stuff, and how much, you know, is in a flange connection. So by using that tool, we ensure that we get everything. And from there, if we open just our regular properties palette, we can see all the different properties that make up specific pipelines here. Obviously, all this does varies because I have multiple types of components picked. But what I want to do here is give this a line number. So I'll say new line number, and I'll take this guy. It should be okay. Now we can look at our project and see if there's other line numbers out there. We can see nothing else has a line number at this point, so we have free game here. If I did have another line with the 001 tag, it wouldn't like that. So make sure that we have unique line numbers here. And also, like, even, you know, if I come here and get this gasket, and this gasket has the wrong line number, see, that's going to mess me up when it comes time to isometric. So that's something, if I come out here and I connect the line number, I will possibly see that stuff depending on how big it is. So let's put that guy back so we get a good spec here. All right, and then you know, once our model is finished, orthographic drawings is the next step. So I've created some ortho drawings over here of our model. There is, in the actual model, there's a button here, Create Ortho View, to go through this process. I'll kind of show you what's going on here. We can see this is out to date here. We don't have our line, we just route. So what I can do here is come out and say Edit View, and that's just paper space and viewports and all that good stuff. And so we can see this brings us out to our actual model. We can see by the red there, we know we're looking at it from the top. And so we go ahead and say OK. And when this regenerates, this will come up. Also, if I just need to update this, if I didn't need to see, I just want to show you guys kind of the cube out there and everything. If I didn't need to see all that, there was a nice little update button out there. Also from there, we'll run a quick little ISO here. So the ISO number. Get my size of my ISO. Come out here and produce that, and this is actually producing right down here in the back, so it's publishing much like it would for like a DWF file or a PDF. And we'll let that go. It should only take a few minutes to come up. A small line like that. But in the meantime, show you guys the data manager, and you can see, get back to that. So we can see one isometric created. It throws the isometric underneath the project here, and we can see what was created here. So this particular ISO style actually has a bill of material created with it. It has a cut piece list. So if you think there's a lot of item numbers out there, that may be why. But we can see that everything's dimensioned to around here. We can see, things like my pipe support, they're on there. So my clamps have a special block that comes in between where they are. So we're not leaving anything in the dust here. So there's my clamp. There's that. And one last thing here I'll show you guys before we end, and that is the database here. So one great thing, that's going to set us apart, from just using AutoCAD and trying to find attributes all over the place, is that everything inside of here knows what it is, whether it's a tank or a pipe or an elbow. It knows exactly what it is. So it has certain properties with that. So if we have a pump, for instance, pump has certain properties. A tank has certain properties. Vessels, and then my pipe run components. You can see if I know where all my elbows are here, know all my nozzles, all my pipe reducers, and we can get that report for just one drawing that we're looking at, or we can get that report for an entire Plant 3D project. Okay, so we also have some reports here, and these up here are just kind of dumps of all of the data. So every property that a particular component has is going to be dumped out here. And in those reports, we can kind of control exactly what's being shown. All right, I think that's it for the demo there.
All right, Pat. Well,
thank
there? You for that. We definitely appreciate that. We would appreciate everyone's feedback on this. There's going to be a short survey that you're going to be receiving. It should pop up here anytime, as well as via email. We'd just like to know, so we can better understand the value the time has presented and how we can help further. Outside of that, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us and wish you the best this afternoon. You have a good day.